Hi everyone, welcome to Scholar Sauce. Today I have kind of an interesting treat for you. My most popular videos on this channel have been my reactions to some of Alan Becker's amazing animation stuff. Well, he just released a little while ago a new channel. He started a new channel called Animation versus School, which is designed, I think, to produce content in the style of the animation versus math and animation versus geometry, animation versus physics, and animation versus coding, but designed to try to help younger kids learn some basic mathematical concepts, which is, honestly is exactly the kind of thing that most of you who commented on my video, a lot of you said would be an awesome way to learn math, and I agree. So today we're going to look at their first video that's over there on the Animation versus School channel. So if you're not already subscribed to Alan Becker's Animation versus School channel and want to check this out, there's a link in the description. You should check it out. We're going to react to the first one of his videos, which is a math video that's geared towards kindergarten or first graders learning about arithmetic for the first time. And so we're going to kind of see, as a math educator, what my opinions are about how well this actually teaches. And it's going to be kind of interesting to see where he goes. Turns out that it's starring our little orange friend, which I think is called The Second Coming or TSC or whatever. We're going to see how he fares in this world there. And so I hope you guys will enjoy this, and let's get right to the video. Oh, he's hungry. Cherries are great to eat. What I really like about this idea, just initially, is the fact that, you know, if you're a little kid, you really want to try to attract kids into this for some other reason. They start with math, it's not as interesting. So I love that he's starting with something more cartoony and fun to try to get the students invested. It's really good storytelling. We found the cherry, ate him, delicious. Did you notice that he ate the stem too? So that's interesting. However, because this is a, you know, teaching math kind of thing, maybe the idea is to consume STEM, like STEM education. Just saying. Hidden gems or whatever, Easter eggs, if you will. Ah, an apple. Oh, now it's locked. In order to get to the apple, he's got to get rid of the locks. So this is interesting. So now you can actually see this is kind of a sneaky way to talk about addition, because this is actually an algebra problem. You would represent this in 5th or 6th grade when you first start introducing algebra as a 4 plus like an x equals 5, some kind of variable. But here they're asking, what do I need to add to 4 to get to 5? And just leaving it sort of as a question mark, which I think is kind of a clever way to try to introduce algebra without introducing letters that are kind of scary. The question mark there is just what the letter variable would be. That's really nice too, the fact that he's showing that, you know, you got this equality here of 5 dots, and now they can kind of see that it's counting. I really like that. So now he's seeing what happens if he takes them away until he gets a 4 on the left, and he sees how many he has left. So that's got to be what goes up in the question mark. That's excellent. So now that answers one thing there. And now he can explore again, take the 7, it's equal to it, dots, he counts over until he gets down to just 3, and then he looks at how many dots he had left over. Now, what's kind of interesting about this is that he's actually sort of figuring out what the right thing is to do there by subtracting 3, which if I go back a little bit to this equation here, if you had a 3 plus question mark or 3 plus x equals 7, the way you would solve this for the x is you would subtract 3 from the 7. And the process that he does this by taking the 7 over and bringing it here and taking 3 away from the 7 to figure out what's going on is precisely what that algebra move is actually doing. So one advantage to this that I really like is it's really kind of setting up how you do arithmetic when you get later on into algebra. The only hope is that whoever teaches this kid algebra would make those same kind of connections. In fact, you could probably watch this video in 5th or 6th grade to try to talk about algebra as well. So it might be available not just for kindergartners and first graders, but maybe also for 5th or 6th graders who are learning algebra for the first time as well. Keeps taking him until he gets 5 away, just getting a little bit quicker with it, which also kind of shows that it's okay for you to get it quicker. You don't have to do it exactly the same way once you got the concept down. You kind of keep messing around with it. That's excellent. Now, I will say that the only, like, this is a minor criticism about this. It's not really that critical. This works just fine for what you're trying to do. You got the kid motivated. They want to get the apple or whatever. The only thing that I think would make this even more interesting is if the mathematics that they're trying to do is more related to what the goal of the thing is. The thing that this is kind of doing is, yes, I want an apple. And now here's 4 arbitrary equations that have no connection to eating an apple that you have to solve in order to get to that apple. Well, that does kind of give some kind of artificial motivation to try to solve those exercises. It doesn't really connect what the exercise is doing to like any kind of real life context. You know, the kid might walk away from this fine, you know, I learned some arithmetic, but they're not going to know why the arithmetic is like important. To me, I think something that would make this even a little bit like a step up is to make the goal in the story related to the actual math problems that they're trying to do. So maybe they're trying to buy an apple. In order to purchase the apple, they have to figure out how much change to produce. You know, and so they have to like do these problems as trying to figure out how much money they can do. That would put the arithmetic into a context that's kind of more real. While I think there's nothing necessarily like wrong with this, is only a mild criticism, the fact that the goal and the arithmetic is sort of artificially separated kind of makes the arithmetic feel less valuable. I'm just doing this because you're telling me to, and I just want the apple. You know, the kid's just like, I just want to get to the apple, and you're making me jump through these hoops to get to the apple. The arithmetic's not actually related to eating the apple. There's his apple. You got it? And see, that's what you need math for, is to eat apples. But he's still hungry, so he wants more. Absolutely a cheeseburger. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to have for dinner tonight because I'm kind of hungry. Same problem, though. He's got to do it. Oh, wait. Now I can't. Oh, that's interesting. So now he can't actually pull it down as dots. Oh. So now he's being, okay, this is interesting. So now he's showing him how to do it with his fingers. This is really slick. Okay, so earlier we saw how he figured out how to do it sort of by subtracting dots off of the amount of 9 that's over there. So you kind of see both equality and the idea that you can subtract things there. This is now teaching sort of a slightly different way to handle the addition by looking for sort of what's left over. So he starts counting at the 6, and then he counts how many additional fingers he would need in order to get to the 9. And then how many fingers he's holding up is the 3 there. This is actually kind of a common technique for adding. And by the way, this is actually something that existed, again, with money long before, back in the day when you used to exchange money. When you'd pay a cashier and you'd pay them more than what the bill was, good cashiers would actually take the amount that you paid, and then they would count up by giving you coins until you got to a full dollar, and then count up the dollars until they got back to the amount that you paid them. And that way you could guarantee that you got the correct difference without actually having to calculate what the difference was. And so this is actually sort of the same idea here. Here's 4, 1, 2. 4, 5, 6, but you're not supposed to start with the 4 because you already have it. And that's what this is pointing out. This is kind of slick too. One of the biggest challenges, I suppose, with doing something like this is figuring out a way to express something without actually saying it. And one of the really common errors with counting like this is actually counting, like putting your first finger up for the number that you're starting the count at. But the 4 is supposed to represent like 0 additional fingers. You already have 4. You don't need any additional fingers to get to 4. You're counting how many additional fingers you need. And so this is kind of a clever way to show don't do that. But maybe it doesn't quite explain sort of why. It might be like it's kind of a rule rather than like there's actually some kind of logic to it. But I mean, that's really what's going on. In order to figure out the addition there, you're trying to figure out how many additional fingers you would need after the 4 that you already have in order to get to the 6. You don't exactly get that kind of an explanation from this. It's just a, oh, don't start with the 4 kind of thing, which may or may not help the student actually make that connection. Some students would probably make it pretty quickly. Other students might not. Okay, so now we do it right again. Oh, I ran out of fingers. Now I need another glove. Oh, there it is. On cue. What happens if the difference is bigger than 10? Why isn't it working? That's kind of slick because that's kind of getting a little bit at what I was saying. Like you got to explain sort of how to do it. And so by making it not appear on the screen and then the thought bubble comes up, you're telling the student you don't actually have to write this down. You should just think about this. Like this should be sort of mental math, and you count up and you count your fingers along with it without having to actually write it down. That's kind of a clever way to sort of explain that you should be kind of doing this in your head. And he got the cheeseburger. Tell you what, you get a kindergartner or first grader eat that many vegetables on a cheeseburger, that's pretty solid. And of course, dessert. You start, see, that's kind of nice. Fruit first, then a nice meal, and then dessert. Okay, we're gonna do this again. Oh, you can't, now you don't have your fingers. Now you have to think about it. Okay, so what are we gonna use now? Maybe tally marks? Yep. Yep, so that's what we're gonna use. So that's kind of slick. So he gives, like, if we go back just a little bit, let me go back further than that. He gives a quick explanation of how do you use tally marks by just giving an example. A good example is often enough that is all you need for something simple like this, typically for somebody to get it. That's pretty nice. So now he's got 9. He's got to go 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So that's 5 total tally marks. Oh, that's kind of clever if you know what the different shapes look like and how to count it. That's pretty cool. So that's got to be 5, and then boom, you got it. So what's clever about this is a lot of things like the Common Core, what it tries to do and why some people don't really like it is that the goal is to try to teach somebody how to have good numerical sense. And so the way they do this is they try to have the students sort of approach a problem in multiple different ways, and then they can kind of pick and choose afterwards how to do it. And so initially they might have them try some things that are kind of different or unfamiliar, and that might be kind of hard. They say, hey, do it this way so you can get some practice with it. But as you do it, you might find that you like this method better or than this method, and so then you start thinking of it that way. I think the reason why a lot of parents tend to struggle with the Common Core a little bit in anything that's kind of like that is a lot of times it introduces techniques and methods that weren't similar to the way that we were taught. And part of the reason why is our generation, my generation and the generation before me, like calculators were just barely becoming a thing when I was going through school. I remember being really excited about getting my first graphing calculator getting into high school, but they were like really new at that period of time. And so like my dad, when he went to school, he used a slide rule to figure out how to do different kinds of things rather than a calculator. And so because you have this limitation of calculation ability, being able to calculate by hand was really, really critical. And a lot of the algorithms were designed to be efficiently written. So if you think about like the sort of standard column addition algorithm. So say you did something like 25 plus 16, then you'd have the 6 plus the 5 would be an 11. So you put the 1 down there and you carry the 1 up there, and then you have 1 plus the 2 plus the 1 gives you 4, and you end up getting 41 as, you know, what we got for 25 plus 16. That algorithm there is correct. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's designed to be efficiently written. It's not designed for efficiently thinking about a problem. If you actually like went through and thought about 25 plus 16, an efficient way to solve that problem mentally, you'd start at your 25, you take your 16. One way to do it is you could move 5 up to a 30, and you took 5 away from the 16 to get there. So you have 30 and an 11 left. 30 plus 11, that's much easier. That's 41. So you can get to the answer faster if you have these like skills of thinking mentally than you can just by writing it down. But because the algorithms that we needed were necessary for like writing, everything was sort of optimized for writing it out as opposed to optimized for thinking through efficiently. And what we realized, we struggle in America actually to do really good arithmetic. And I think part of it is because we focused on algorithms that were designed for writing it down rather than thinking it through. That column algorithm that you do to add that stuff does not really lend itself to quick arithmetic in your head. And people who are quick in their head with arithmetic never use column arithmetic to solve those problems because it's incredibly slow. But the algorithms to like think of that are quick for fast mental thinking tend to be harder to write down. And so they look really terrible when you try to like come up with ways to try to encourage it. Kind of the idea of Common Core was that they wanted you to kind of build some number sense with this. And so they started focusing on algorithms that were kind of optimized for like how could you efficiently think through the problem as opposed to how could you efficiently write down the problem. And I think that causes some conflict between parents who never really learned algorithms that were designed to be optimized for how well you think through a problem, but are more optimized for how would you write it down. And so a lot of parents, I think, ended up being really kind of defensive about this. Like, why are you changing math? They even make a joke about this in The Incredibles 2 when Mr. Incredible's trying to help his son with math.
Dad, they want us to do it this
I don't
way.
know that way. Why would they change math? Math is math.
Okay,
Math
Dad.
is math.
That's kind of the sort of crux of what's going on there. We're not changing math. What we're doing is we're trying to identify and encourage algorithms that are better for thinking, that build better number sense, as opposed to just algorithms that focus on efficient writing, which is becoming less and less useful. But this is sort of why he's showing so many different methods to these kids on how to do it. I want a banana split. Oh, too many tick marks. So again, he's doing this really nice thing where he's kind of showing a common error by having TSC actually do the common error. And so then he can see, oh, it was actually this thing over here. And so by showing an example of a way that you can make a mistake, sometimes it helps the students kind of identify, oh, I don't want to make that mistake again. Another way that you can make the error is by putting too few slashes. So this is making sure that students know you've got to have 4 slashes. The number of slashes has to equal that number. So it's not just the pattern, it's actually how many things are there. So that's pretty slick. I like that. Back to a correct answer. And now we're doing well. One thing that I also kind of like about this that's pretty cool is, if you notice, TSC is never being penalized for making an error. Every single time he makes a mistake, all he has to do is go figure out, how do I fix it? Like, what did I do wrong? And then he can correct it. And he still gets the lock unlocked. So there's no penalty for making a mistake. I think all too often in math, we make assessments that are what are called summative assessments, which are, we're trying to test you on your knowledge, see how well you do. There's also a type of assessment called a formative assessment, which is designed to like help the student sort of identify where they're at, but without penalizing them for getting it wrong. And the idea is to give them feedback so they can improve on it without actually having to have any fear of like being penalized in any kind of permanent way. And in math, I find that we're really terrible at this. We make almost every assessment sort of summative. Even homework assignments get graded for correctness when it's literally the first time you've ever tried those problems before. And this creates just this whole endless spiral of stress and worrying about getting the right answers and getting docked points permanently because you couldn't figure out how to do it correctly the first time. So I really like that this video is showing that there really is no threat to getting a problem wrong. You just figure out what went wrong, sort out like why it's not the correct answer, and then correct it and move on. There it is. You got the dessert. Whoa, uh-oh. That seems like a bait and switch. What's going on here? You said I could have the dessert. Whoa. We have this like, you know, demon animated dude. He's got 9 balls or 9 things. Oh, now he's testing them. This is almost exactly sort of what I was saying. Like, we have the formative assessments building up to it. Now he's being tested. I don't know if I really like the idea that the test is being represented by this like all evil sort of demon or whatever. I'm not sure if having this, I mean, as funny as looking as he is, having sort of this scary demon be the guy who's got to be defeated in order to get your dessert by doing this arithmetic maybe communicates the right idea there, but it's probably not that big of a deal. So how many does he got to get there? And now they're being timed. So this is like the summative assessment test. They're really, you know, this is building all sorts of induced stress. But it is kind of cool. I will say one thing about this though. The one advantage here is they gave the person who's watching it a moment to think through it on their own before they just gave them the answer to see if you're actually following along. I think that's a good touch. A lot of times these videos tend to not be very interactive, and that's a great way to sort of solve that problem. And you got the right answer in the right amount of time. Hey, that's what I had. Oh man. Get another one. Oh, he's one. Yeah, he got 1 rope untied. He's got 12 total blocks. Now he's going to mix it up. Same thing. I've got 7 over here. How many do I have in my other hand? Gotta figure it out. Again, a nice pause before they bring up the hand that can count. Oh, and that's cool. He uses different methods for each one to show you that each one can possibly get the right answer. That's really nice. So both the hand and the tic-tac-toe one. So I wonder if he'll use the last, like what he'll use for the last method, because he did the second and third method for those first two problems. So that would suggest maybe he'll do the first method again for this one. He's got 2. How many has he got there? Is he going to pull down the 8 and count that over? Because that's how he did it the first time. That's the only one of the 3 times that he hasn't shown. Oh, no, this is just a you figure it out on your own. Can you get, okay, so that's interesting. So he doesn't even give any help. I kind of like that. So we gave him some help, and then he assumed that the person watching it got it correct. And then the table was on a thing. So he wins. He gets his dessert. He's had a wonderful meal of mathematics. Oh, and check it out. Watch this. When he eats the cherry, he eats the stem again, which is exactly what we need to do. We need to consume stem to get better at this kind of stuff. And he says goodbye. Anyway, that was great. So it looks like for more practice, click the link in the description. Depending on its success, we may make more. If you have feedback as a teacher or business inquiry, send us an email. So I'm reacting to this. I don't think anybody else, I haven't seen a reaction to this at all. You really should check this video out. As of this video, I think it's only had 900,000 views and it's been up for about 2 months. It says, if you're planning on to actually teach kids with this, please use this version. There's no critical error at this here. I can't believe none of us caught that. Oh, this is a new version? Wait a minute. How did I... So at 6:33, there's an error. Oh, that's interesting. There was. I didn't notice that either when we went through here. Look at this. There isn't 12 blocks. There's only 11 blocks in that. Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, so there was an error there. So make sure if you do it, use this one instead, which is a better one that doesn't have the error. Let's see, let's go to 6:33. Oops. Yep, he's got the correct one there. So yeah, there was an animation error there. But anyway, right now Animation vs. School only has about 30,000 subscribers. So I'm kind of a little, might not go anywhere if there isn't any attention drawn to it. I do think these are pretty cool. I think it'd be a fun way to sort of teach math. If you haven't checked out Animation vs. School yet, please do. So thanks for watching this video with me. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a like and subscribe to Scholar Sauce. We try to produce cool videos like this all the time, whether it's reaction videos to things that are already on YouTube or just fun things that I think are really neat about math. Subscribe to Scholar Sauce. Check out some of the cool content we have, and I'll see you guys. Oh, and hit that hype button. That new thing, that'd really help me out. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I'll catch you next time on Scholar Sauce.